All right, let's do a quick audio check here. We'll get started in a few minutes. Let me know if you can hear me okay. Testing 1, 2, 3, testing, testing. Okay, audio okay, great. All right, I'll put a little music on. We'll get started in about 2 minutes. All right, welcome to Stock Analysis Friday. Great to be here once again. Today is September 8th, 2023. Hope everybody's doing good out there. All right, I'm going to run through the normal administrational items that I need to do before we get started. But in the meantime, go ahead and start typing in symbols you want me to look up and type those in caps, and we'll take a look at those. And really, the purpose of Stock Analysis Friday, if you're new here, is basically everybody brings a few stocks or ETFs to look at, and we look them up and we see if they are possibly good trades or not. And believe it or not, when we leave here, we're usually together about an hour. And when we leave here, we usually find a few good stock opportunities that you can actually go ahead and trade in for the either later today or the following week. So it's kind of cool. It's almost like a stock picking service at this particular point. So just the only thing we ask is use the comments area to put your symbols in and type them in caps. Okay, that's important for us. All right, well, let's go ahead and start getting through these things. Let me just go through the administrational items of our risks involved in trading. I like to talk about the risk possibly that you could incur in trading the financial markets. We deal in a realm of probabilities, not certainties when we're in the market. So therefore, nothing is guaranteed, and past performance does not guarantee future performance. Also, too, as we look at these stocks and make recommendations, we don't know your personal situation. So please reach out to your financial advisor or whoever manages your money to be sure these are suitable for you. There's a lot of determining factors that go into that determination, and they can help you with that. And then also, please use money you can afford to risk, called risk capital. That's important as well. And when you take a trade or even an investment, know how many contracts or shares to purchase of that particular instrument, because that comes into the realm of risk control, where to put your stops and so forth. Now, if you need help with trade risk, I've written several books published by major publishers. First one is A Trader's Money Management System on the far left. That's a deep dive into money management. We cover the risk of ruin tables, the whole 9 yards in that. And then I came out with a new book last year called Money Management for Traders, which kind of is a very specific book on how to implement good, solid risk control into trading, active trading, and even investing. So it talks about calculating trade size and things of that nature. So that book's available. And if you're watching this and watching the recording, I'll put the links up in the recording when we post that too. Otherwise, just go to our website under education and you can have access to those books on our Amazon page. All right, so the other book that is very popular is the Elliott Wave Techniques Simplified. That was published by McGraw-Hill, came out a few years ago, and that's all about the Elliott wave, how to do the counts, and applying what we call a probability matrix to the Elliott wave count. It's kind of unique. And then I've got the Survival Guide for Traders, great reference, a book for all traders. My first edition of The Art of Trading, it came out in 2008, and I'm very happy to announce that Wiley Publishing has asked me to do a second edition. So that will be coming out shortly, but you can pre-order that, and I'll put all the links again in the recording area. But that's going to be, I think, one of my best books. I've been working hard on that book. It's got a lot of great new information in it, and it covers a lot of information on our new software since the first book came out. So that's all available for you. Now, when we look at charts, you're going to see things on the chart, indicators, icons on the chart that you may not have seen before. And that's because I use a proprietary software trading program that we developed here at traderscoach.com. That's actually listed on the traderscoach.com website or the appliedrealitytrading.com website. Where you see the banner below scrolling, we have a dedicated website for our software. And basically, there's charting software, there's scanners, and there is risk control software. So we try to cover all the main bases with our software tools. And that's why we call it the ultimate trading system. So you'll see me use that as we look at charts, and I'll go over that so you kind of see kind of how it works. And then finally, like, subscribe, and share. All right, the more people we can pull in here, the better, and the more stocks we can look at. All right, so let's dump in. I got a few here I'm going to take a look at before we get in going here. GBTC is a ETF for Bitcoin. And it looks like it's starting to move possibly up. It had a little bit of a pullback, which we expected, but now it looks like it's moving back up. So it looks pretty good. In terms of what you're looking at here, I'm happy to be using the NinjaTrader charting platform, but our software works on TradeStation, multi-charts, MT4, MT5, and eSignal. And you can use any one of those platforms. And on NinjaTrader, what you're looking at here is 3 time frames that I set up. So I got the 60-minute time frame on the far left for the short-term look of whatever I'm looking at. And then I've got the daily time frame here, which is kind of the intermediate look. And then the weekly chart on the far right, which is a long-term look. So when I say weekly, daily, 60 minutes, what that means is that each price bar you see printed on a specific chart resembles what that time frame is. So on the weekly chart, for example, every price bar here is a full week. So that's 5 trading days. Now on a daily chart, every price bar represents the entire trading day. So you're going to have 5 of those in a normal trading week. And then on the 60-minute chart, every price bar represents an hour, and that's considered an intraday chart. So for example, when I put up GBTC, what you're looking at here is GBTC across a variety of different time frames. And why I do that is it gives me a better look at what is going on with GBTC rather than just looking at one chart. And it helps me for timing and trading the market more actively for that particular symbol. Now at the top, what we have is we have an assortment of rainbow colors up here. Okay, and this is our scanners at work. Now we're not going to be using those today because I'm going to be basically just looking up stocks you give me. But for example, each weekend I'll take a really close look at what I'm scanning for based on my software here. And it's going to tell me setups that look pretty good. And then I take a look at the chart. And if they're a go, then that's what we trade. So the scanners help me find or sort through the over 10,000 possible stock opportunities into a handful that I can actually look at and then determine what kind of trading I want to do on that. And we also use that for intraday day trading time frames as well. So that's the setup here. All right, so back to GBTC. We're actually bullish on GBTC long term. All right, I think basically it has bottomed, put a big time bottom. If we look at the weekly chart on the far right, I'm thinking this is a big bottom here. And it's moved off the top. Okay, we had a kind of a little bit of a pullback there, but as you can see, it's strengthening here. So we like that. We've got a green, this PTF here is green here on the 60-minute. And so basically it's calling for higher highs. And so I'm recommending this once again. We had this on the recommending list before, but I'm going to put it back on GBTC. The other one I wanted to take a look at is USO. And USO is the ETF for oil. This is another one we really like a lot. The target we have based on the weekly time frame over here is between 100.69, so $100 roughly, up to $126. Now, for you Elliott Wave folks out there, this is in a wave 3. This is a 4, and this will complete the trend on wave 5, hopefully in that target zone. So with Elliott Wave, there are 5 movements in a trend, or 5 waves. And so we're on the 5th wave, we think, in the weekly chart on oil. And so unfortunately, that means higher prices at the gas pump coming, but you can kind of hedge that by participating in a long position here on USO. Again, talk to your financial advisor, make sure that type of thing is suitable for your trading. But also note here at the bottom that we have a green PTF here and here and here. So more highs are coming. So this was looking like a pretty good trade. So I'm going to put this also on the recommended list for this week. All right, let's hit it here. Okay, so Stuart's got a few here. How you doing, Stuart? All right, DKNG. Let's see how we're doing with this one. We've looked at this one before, so let's see how it's doing now. All right, so it's moving up, okay, and I think we kind of were expecting that. The only thing about this here at this particular point here is this is an extended trend. So when I say that, it's more risky to get in here than down here. So you got to be careful because there's profit taking. We had a little profit taking already. So it'd be interesting to see if that makes one more high. And it looks to me like it certainly might. The PTF now on the short-term chart, notice, has turned green. Okay, so this is good now. The only thing about this is, what is the target? How much higher is it really going to go? Well, let's take a look at the weekly chart. There's not much data here on the weekly chart. It only goes back to 2020, and that's not a lot in the realm of stocks. So let's just take a look at a fib retracement here to here, and we're already in the target zone. So I'm thinking maybe one more high, and that's about it. All right, so we're maybe looking at 38 on this for a possible high. I'm not going to recommend it because I think it's too mature at this time for new trades. But if you're in it already, okay, you should be okay. All right, so that's that one. Open. Take a look at Open, O-P-O-E-N. All right, so Open here goes back to about 2020 as well. What I'm liking about this one, however, is we've had a bottom here, and it looks like we may be coming off the top. Green, green. This histogram measures momentum. This tells us the probability of another high. And when it's green or red, it's 75% of the direction of that particular movement. So in this case, it's green. So more highs are coming there. Well, it looks like we had a little bit of a movement down. Okay. Notice we still have a little red here and a little red here. So I kind of would like to wait and see first, Stuart, if we take out this high here. Okay. That would be a good sign. Because what we may have going on here is we may not have the correction quite over it. It certainly could be, but I would wait for this to take this high out, and then I'd go long here, and your fib extensions at that point could be drawn. So let's just play around with some fib retracements here. So you've hit the target zone, okay? So that's a good sign, right? So that is good. And then the extension here is going to be from here to here to here. So that's your target, $5.67 up to $7.29. So what I want you to do is make sure this bottom is in. And since it's still pulling back, let's see if it finishes and it takes this high out. If it does, then that most likely gives us a confirmed bottom there. So wait for that to turn around. So let's put that on an open watch list rather, and look at that next week and see if that does in fact turn around and go up. I usually, the other problem with this, it could be an A, B, C with one more low before it goes. So that's why I don't want to put you in prematurely here. Okay. So that's OPEN. All right. Let's take a look at, what is it? PEGA. PEGA. Don't think we've looked at this one before. Let's see what's going on with that one. Okay, so that's coming off a bottom as well. Let's see let's open up this weekly chart here a little bit more. Okay, so in terms of Elliott wave, all right, this certainly would have looked like a 3, right? But this retracement is too severe for a 4, okay? So it really can't be a 4. So maybe a 1, maybe a 2, starting somewhere on a 3, or maybe it's not quite done yet. And then it may go like that. So this one's got a couple different possibilities. Yeah, we got a little bit of a bottom here, but not crazy about it. Okay. I think there's better ones out there. Okay. So I'm not going to recommend this one either way. And as you can see from the 60-minute chart on the far left, it's still pulling back. So I'm not quite certain that the pullback is over. So I would not do this one. Okay. NVAX. Let's take a look at that one. Okay. All right. Let's open up that weekly chart and see, kind of a roly-poly. All right. Definitely a roly-poly, right? Look at this. Okay. But at least it's at the bottom of the poly, right? So we may have some opportunity to the upside. And check this out. You have a green PTF here. So that's actually calling for at some point a return. Probably not going to happen for about, 8 years or so, but you definitely have a situation where it looks like there is potential to the upside. All right, let's take a look short term. All right, so we've got a bottom forming here. Let's focus on this roly-poly bottom. Now, what you want to make sure when you go into these stocks is if you go in and it's a roly-poly situation, you don't know how long that is going to last. Is it going to go on another, 6 months or so? And if so, then your capital can get tied up. So if you're in it already, you want to keep your stop pretty darn low. All right, I would keep it right under this low here. If you're considering going in, let's take a look at a couple things. You did get a pyramid trading point entry. You've got green here, you've got green here, you've got green here. So we may be ending the roly-poly here. Also, too, it looks like you took out this recent high here. Let's bring up the data window and check that just to confirm that. And let me bring that over here so you can see it. So the current high, all right, was at $10.30. And you had the previous high at 10.18. So you took that out. That's a good sign. You've got one more high sitting way back here at 11.36. So a couple things you can do here. If you want to be super conservative, you can wait for this high to be taken out. Certainly, okay, you've got a tremendous way to go for a target zone if that high gets taken out. So even if we don't think it's going up close, soon to 340, which it probably is not, you probably have maybe a 6 month to a year trade where it could get up to $27 to $41. That's a double your money. Okay. So that's not a bad trade. So that's more short term than the weekly chart on the far right. So I'm liking that. So if you wanted to go in early now, yes, okay, you're good. If you want to wait for this to be popped out, that's fine too. And that would still give you plenty of profit to the target zone. So it just depends on how aggressive you want to be here. But I'm going to put NVAX on the buy list. I think you caught that one pretty good. So good job on that one. All right, let's keep going here. All right, I think you got CRWD. Let's see how that one looks. All right, so we're going back, it looks like, to about 2019 on the history. So when you don't have that much history in stocks, 5 years is not much. All right, it kind of makes it difficult to get any type of what we call the Elliott wave count. All right, just went up and down. So kind of not very helpful on the weekly chart. But we have more data spread across a daily chart. So let's see if that gives us any clues. And this retracement's a little deep, okay, for it to be any type of an impulsive wave correction. So it looks like a new impulsive wave down, and now maybe we may be moving up, and you're starting to see a bullish move up again on the 60, which represents this move up here. All right, so where is this going? So, from an entry point, yes, long is fine, but then the problem is where's the target? All right, and it's tough to figure that out because there's not a lot of history on the weekly to kind of see where this thing is going overall. But perhaps maybe, we're in the target already short term. So I'm not going to recommend this one, okay? But if you're in it and you're long, that's fine, okay? Otherwise, for new folks, I don't think I would go into this at this time. Let's get a little more history on that before we kind of get an idea. Stuart, great pick. So NVAX is your winner there. Okay, super job. All right, anybody else? Let's take a look. Let's take a look at silver. All right, a lot of pundits out there, recommend silver. So let's just take a look at that one and see what's cooking there. Give that a second to load. All right, so silver we're kind of watching. We're not recommending it at this point, and primarily because it's still kind of bearish. You got a red owl here measuring momentum, so the momentum is bearish. Momentum is bearish here on all time frames. Also, too, you've got a red PTF on the short time frame, which basically is saying that this movement down is not over yet. So again, this is why we use multiple time frame analysis, because the lower time frames are indicating momentum is severe enough still to the downside that we're most likely going to get more lows. So in a case like this, I would stay out of silver right now. If you're in it, keep your stop low because it's a long-term play, right? But you need to have your stop at least right here, okay? But I would stay out of it right now if you're not in it, and let's wait until the momentum comes back into the bullish side. So that is silver. All right, let's take a look at UNG, which is the natural gas ETF, and see what's cooking on that one. Natural gas, all right, we kind of like that because we're close to a bottom, but it's doing the roly-poly type of thing. So if you're long already, we told you to have your stop at this pyramid here, so you want to kind of leave it there. All right, and I would not go into it now because the momentum is still bearish, but it is improving. So it looks like it's could be going green again, and it looks like we're starting to see an uptick here on the short-term time frames. You no longer have any red PTFs here, so the yellow is neutral. That's okay. You can go long or short on a yellow. All right, so I think UNG is bottoming here. I think it's in a bottoming sequence. If you're in it, keep your stop down there. But otherwise, if you're thinking about going in it, I'd hold off now until we get that momentum to the positive side. So still a little bit more time for that to occur. All right, so that's UNG. All right, anything else? Anybody else? Let's take a look at Google. This is also one, okay, that basically we had recommended before, but it was, I think, in pulling back a little bit. So let's see what was going on with that. All right, I think it's an extended move up here. Our target on Google is 160 to 208. So it hasn't pulled back yet, but I think what we're expecting is a pullback. So usually when you get a big run like this, okay, like we've had on these time frames here, you get profit taking after a while. And so we're kind of due for that profit taking pullback. Doesn't mean the trend is, done. It just, markets don't go straight up. They zigzag, right? They go up, a little pullback for profit taking. And then once that is over, then they resume back to the upside. So I don't want to recommend Google right now. I will recommend it again after a pullback. Maybe it comes to 110 or something like that. Then I think it would be great to get back into that. But for right now, if you're in it, enjoy the ride because it's been going up, and expect a pullback at some point. So again, target on Google for us is 160 to 208. So we're getting kind of close. All right. Let's see, Stuart. Okay, all right, gotcha. Okay, TLT. TLT. Let's see what we got here. All right, everybody see the charts okay? Frank says he's having a hard time seeing the charts. So I just want to know, make sure that everything is okay. Okay, so art. Okay. Let's see what we got. So TLT is the ETF for bonds, and we've been watching this one like a hawk too. But we did not go into it during this move up because this was red. And it was indicating that this was not the final low. And boy, was it right. Look, boom. Okay, now it's yellow. Good sign. But this is red and this is red still. So that's indicating even more lows on the different time frames. So it's not done coming down yet, Art. Don't go in it yet. All right. Everything is red on the indicators, including the pyramids. These pyramids basically here are fractals in the market, and they identify fractal trend trading patterns: higher highs, higher lows, lower lows, lower lows, lower lows, lower highs, and also take into account the momentum that forms the pattern. So when they're bearish, okay, that indicates the trend. And so the trend is still coming down on that. Now, will TLT one day be great? Sure. Okay. It will be. But for right now, no. Do not go in it yet. Let's wait it out. Let's get that final bottom in, and then I think it's going to be an incredible move. Okay. Then I think it will be a buy. So I do think TLT is going to be an outstanding one at some point. It should really go on everybody's watch list, but just don't do anything with it now. Okay. All right. So Frank, I'm getting feedback here that the charts are good today. So if you're having trouble on your end, it has to be something, I think, on your end. Maybe log out, log back in. Maybe you got a bad internet connection. Not sure. Okay. All right. Let's keep going here. FCEL. FCEL is our next one. We'll take a look at that. Okay. Again, FCEL setting itself up for a possible long trade. What I love about your picks, Art, is that you're looking at things to end one trend, getting ready to go into the trend on the other direction. So I like that. Okay, that's what I do. I scan for either bottoms or tops, and then I kind of wait patiently until I get a entry into the market in the direction I want to go. So in this case here, we're getting close. We still got a red PTF on FCEL. You can put this on a watch list. It's not quite ready yet, but we'll keep an eye on this one. I think it's a good one to keep an eye on because I think after it bottoms, then it will be ready to go. Now, it's a cheap stock. It's only $1.42. So let's hope it doesn't go bankrupt. So let's wait for this thing to actually show some signs of improvement, okay, in the momentum. So let's hold off for now. All right, so let's see what else we got. AFRM, and this again for Stuart. AFRM. Okay, so we looked at this one before, and we liked it, and we still like it. Okay, our target on this, prices are at $22.17 right now. So our target for this is $72.88 all the way up to $112.86. So we're pretty far from the target. Okay, you can almost triple your money on this if it gets right smack in that target. So it's looking really good. Couple things here. Okay, when I look at multiple time frames, I see bullishness, bullishness, bullishness. Okay, so long trade looks good. We got green PTF for higher highs. Makes sense because our target is way up here, right? This is green, that's green. This just turned yellow. So here's the way you interpret this. Big move up. Again, it's time probably for some slight profit taking. So you can expect to move down before it continues up. So here, down and maybe up. Now, that doesn't mean it can't go up a little further and then pull back, but you've got to not have your stop so close that you get caught on the pullback. So I'm going to put this down as a buy with a caveat that you have to put your stop under this really small pyramid here. Okay, so it has to go down pretty low, around 14, right? So, you know, you can either wait for the pullback and then go in, which is not a bad thing to do. Or if you just want to go in right now and make this a long-term trade and not worry about a pullback, but have a stop in place, you can do that. So I'm going to leave that up to you how you want to manage it. I think if I was doing a short-term trade on this, I'd probably wait for the pullback. If it was a long-term trade that I plan to be in it for a year or so, I don't think I'd worry too much about it. I'd probably go in and maybe go in with a half a position here that I want to take. And then if it pulls back, go in with the other half and then have the stop under the pyramid. So either way is okay. And I'll let you determine on how you do that. So I think it's a good one. So I'm going to put that down as a buy. So once again, on the buy list, we've got GBTC, looks good. USO, which is the ETF for oil. NVAX and AFRM. So we found 4 already. Pretty good. Pretty good. All right. So ADM, let's take a look at that. All right. Good, Art. Okay, good. Good ones to look at. Appreciate that. All right. So we looked at this one before, ADM, and we liked it then, and we still like it. However, a couple things. All right. First of all, our target long-term on this is on the weekly chart over here with a green PTF, green momentum. Okay, good. So we're going up to 112 to 139. We're sitting at 79. Huge potential. All right. Now, let's take a look at the daily and 60-minute chart. All right. So we've had a little bit of a pullback, but this is telling us that after the pullback, we're going to go higher. So we're not going to sweat this one out. Okay. This one looks pretty good. Let's see where it retraced. It looks like it kind of retraced to a profit-taking area, and it did. So this type of retracement is quite normal for profit-taking. Get a big move up, especially off a bottom, get some profit-taking, and then what happens is it settles, and then it eventually goes back up. This, however, over here is telling us that the bottom's not in yet on this profit-taking run, that we should have a move back down before it recovers. So this is, again, one of the advantages of using multiple time frame analysis. So while this chart looks good, this chart looks better, this chart is showing no. Okay, don't go in because this is red, and this is red too. Okay, so the shorter time for the shorter you go in looking at the time frames on ADM, the more we get to see that the inside of this correction is not over to the downside yet. Okay. So I would kind of stay away with this. So Stewart got in at 76 at the end of June, seller move up stop. I would keep, well, you're right. It's almost a stop out point here, aren't you? So I don't know how you did your trade size here, but you probably at 76, hopefully, that's low enough to hold, but you see, it's probably got to go down below 77. So that's a nail biter. All right. If you wanted to move your stop down a few ticks, a little bit more to give it some room, that's fine, provided, all right, you don't exceed your risk parameters when you first calculated getting into the trade. Okay. Never move your stop if your stop exceeds your risk parameters. So sometimes I go in with a small positions that allows me to adjust my stop a little bit in the beginning, but only if I'm under a 2% risk. All right. So that's where you're at right now. Okay. So it's going down again at some point. You might have a little bit more upside before it goes down. So maybe, you'll get up to 82 or something before it slides down, because if you look at this, that's the next point of inflection. So if it moves, starting to move up close to a green PTF, green owl on the 60. So you may get a little bit more of a retracement before it heads down. Okay, but it looks like it is going to head down. So if you wanted to take profits, you probably could, and you get in later if you wanted to at a lower price. But wait until that PTF is no longer red before you go in. All right, so that's ADM. Let's take a look at VRM. So VRM. Art, this one's for you. Okay. History goes back to about year 20, so only a couple, 3 years. All right, couple things on this that's interesting. First of all, again, cheap stock, all right, but it is bottoming. All right, so if we pull this up here a little bit more, magnify that in. Now you can see the pyramid for the short trade has been, I think, basically stopped out. Let me just check that. When it's so close like that, you got to bring up the data window because it might not have been. Let's move that over. So the high on that is 2.82. The stop loss leg is 2.76. So yes, it's higher here. So the short position's been stopped out. Okay, so done. So that clears the way for a long position when you're ready. Now, a couple things here. This is looking good here. Green, green. Red, not good. Yellow, okay. Red, not good. Green, good. Okay, so it's still pulling down. After the pull down, we should get a move back up, according to the PTF, on both the 60 and the weekly. But let's wait for the momentum to change. So I would put this on a watch list, VRM. And what we're looking for here is a bullish histogram on the 1 minute and the 60 minute. And that histogram is what we call the OWL, optimum wave locator. All right, so don't go in it yet. And if you're in it, you got to keep that stop. Hopefully you put that stop at the bottom. And basically, if this bottom holds, you'll be okay. If not, then you'll be glad you didn't go in right now. Okay. All right, let's take a look at RIOT, RIOT, and this is the ETF cryptos. All right, so we had a little bit of move down, and we've experienced that pretty much in all the cryptos. But from a long-term standpoint, our bottom we think is right here. Not surprising, all right, to get a pullback. So that's kind of what we're getting now. And according to the 1 minute chart, we've got some more lows coming on crypto. So this is still red. This indicator here has a 75% accuracy rate. So it's not 100%, but it's more right. It's 75% is good in the markets. So it's indicating we're going to take another dip here, Frank, below here. This is green here, so let's see what happens with that. Probably after the dip, we'll probably go back up. So again, when you get in on new bottoms, you want to try to keep that stop as low as you can. That's important because you're not really trading necessarily the first wave up. You're kind of in it for the long haul. And the PTF's green on the weekly, so we should take out the 80 at some time, but that's going to be years. Okay, that's going to be years, so it's going to be quite some time. So not sure where your stop is, not sure where you got in exactly, but basically your long position the success of it will be determined about where your stop is and what your intention was on that. Okay, if we look at Coinbase, let's take a look at that too. All right, this pulled back to the expected area. This one looks a little more favorable because it's got now a green PTF, green, little red here, okay, but green here, green here. So you've got a pyramid here, but you can't go into that until this is green. So as soon as that turns green, you can go. So I think probably Coinbase, we'll have to see if that correction is over, then that will turn green. If not, then it will remain red and make probably more lows. But I think it's over, okay? 60-minute chart is pretty bullish, so I think it looks pretty over. So I think you're in pretty good shape for a long trade. And I would wait for this to turn green, just as a double check, okay, so to speak, double confirmation. All right, let's see what we got here. I guess I can show people's comments here, which I like. All right, we looked at RIOT. Okay, so we got through that. Okay, so that's our last one from Art. Any more picks? We've actually found some really good ones here today. Anybody else? IoT. Alexander watching IoT. See what that looks like here. Okay, so we go back to about what? 2022, late 2021. So not a lot of history. We put a temporary target on the weekly chart because I think we looked at this last week around 35 to 43. We've got a green PTF and a green owl on the 1 minute, green here and yellow here. So looks pretty good. Problem is it's too close to the target. Okay, so I would not recommend this now. And a couple things you should know. You're seeing bearish divergence here. Okay, that's bearish. You're seeing it inside here, almost going red. So I think basically probably another high could be possible short term, but then that's it. So you may reach that target and then see a big sell-off in this. So I kind of at this point not recommend it new, but if you're in it, I think you can probably stay in it and you're good for one more high. If you have our tools, what I would do is I would exit when this turns yellow, or you get into the target zone. And when I say exit, not necessarily exit, but trail your stops right up under the price bar. So you try, if it goes up a little further, you can take out a little bit more profit, but you're trailing your stops so close that you're protected if it shifts to the downside. Okay, good. All right, anybody else? So again, we've got GBTC as a buy. We got USO, NVAX, and AFRM. AFRM. So those are the four we found so far. Great job, guys. Really good. All right, UNG, we went over UNG already. I'll go over that again, Alexander, for you. Okay, UNG is one that is a bottom fisher. So we're actually, expecting this to be the bottom, all right? So that's what we're hoping for. This is getting close to going green, which is really good. Now, what I would do is I would wait for the owls to turn green if you're not in it already. If you're in it already, like I'd mentioned before, we had our stop under this pyramid. So you're okay, all right? That should hold, even during a continuation of a pullback, provided that this is the bottom, okay? So, and we think it is, all right? So that's why we took a trade to the long side. But right now, if you're just showing up, don't go long yet, all right? Because it's still pulling back. So this is red and this is red. And if you wait, you might be able to get a much better price than where it is now. And also, too, then you can see if the bottom holds. So hold out at this particular point, okay? But if you're in it, have that stop low enough. All right, Bill, how are you? All right, let's see, no problems. BL, let's take a look at BLDP. BLDP, I think we looked at this one last week too. Let's see how she's doing now. Okay, so it looks like we made a new, well, we almost made a new bottom. We had a new bottom a couple of weeks before, right? So, all right, well, it's still heading down. Okay, we got a green PTF that says it should recover at some point pretty soon. But I wouldn't go into it now. But we might be getting close to a bottom. All right, you still got a pretty significant bearish owl here, though it's improving. You got one here and you got one here. So there's no way you'd be long this, because even if you went long earlier, you would have been stopped out. Okay. And you certainly wouldn't go back long at this point. So chances are you should be out of this flat, but you can put this on a watch list. No, nothing wrong with that. Okay. All right, let's go for Alexander. We did not look up NKLA yet. One that we had looked up last week, of course. Give that a second to load. All right. What we liked about this one last week is we're hoping that this bottom holds, right? Okay. Now, every time you get a move up, I got to be careful about saying every time because the markets are different all the time. But usually probabilities indicate when you have a move up like this, the first leg off the bottom is usually followed by some type of violent move down, whether it's profit taking or the shorts covered, and that's what caused it to go up. And then there's no new buying, so it comes down. And then if the bottom holds here, then people start thinking about the fact that maybe this is a bottom and we're heading up. So anytime you decide to get in early and it starts taking out these supports here to give you confidence, plus we got all the green pyramids here. And notice that it went from green to yellow. So the pyramid, the PTF did great. So if your intention was to just trade this leg up here, well, you would have been stopped out either at the greed bar here or the pyramid, right? So you would have taken profits. If you're in it for the long haul and you're kind of want to stay in this for quite some time, maybe based off the weekly chart, okay, then because the weekly chart has a target because of this massive sell-off all the way to 37 to 59. So if that's your intention, then what you want to do is always put your stop at the very bottom and leave it there, okay, until the next leg appears and takes the top out. Then you can start trailing it up. But you don't want to do that until we're sure we have a bottom. And honestly, you're not going to be sure until the pullback, the next pullback after the first leg up, all right, basically stays above the bottom. And that's how you know. So in a case like this, if your stop is here, just stay with it, all right? We either picked the bottom right or we didn't. And if we didn't, we're going to get stopped out and have to try again. But that's where you want your stop if you're in it for the long haul. If you're in it for the short haul, you would have been out already, okay? So don't go in it yet. Let's wait and see. We got a red PTF occurring on the 60 minutes, so it's still heading down. So let's see if that bottom holds. Let me put a little horizontal line here so we can take a look at that better. So you're kind of getting close. So just stay away until we see if that bottom holds. All right, and that's NKLA. All right, LABD. Let's take a look at that bad boy. All right, so this is another one that's bottoming here. Okay, so we're starting to move off the bottom. So again, all right, this could be a bottom. We've got green here. That's a good sign. Green here, green here. Yellow PTFs are not bad, especially in the beginning. They're neutral. You can go long or short as long as they're yellow. You just don't want to go in a direction opposite to what they're telling us. So this is okay. But you see, you've had your first leg up, right? There's your profit taking a little bit. You also had a pretty good pullback already. See this move up? That's a good pullback. And then it was another high here. So your stop can be here. Would I recommend this one? I think so. We may have a little bit of a pullback left in here, but let's go ahead and I think this is a buy. LABD. I want your stop under here though. Under the July low. Now let's kind of see where it's going. Where's the target for this thing? Well, we're not getting any help from the PTFs because they're all neutral. So let's just draw in a target zone of around 34 to 48. So that's almost a double your money. You're going to have to be in it for a while. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but you may get up there within a year. So not too bad, right? LABD. You know, on some of these like this, if you don't want to have your capital tied up, you can just buy a long-term leap or an option on that, but just make it fairly long-term. And, you know, you buy that and limit your risk to 2% of whatever you purchase and then leave it alone and you don't use that much capital. So you have capital left for some short-term trades. Food for thought. Okay, so that was LABD. All right, anybody else? What a session today. Boy, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You guys are awesome. Anybody else? Art's asking me, let's see what you're saying here, Art. When is your book about accumulation of a position going to be available? Can't wait for it. Okay, I'll have to work on that one. But we do have I do have the new Art of Trading book coming out. So that should be coming out. You can pre-order that one. Should be out fairly soon. It's going to be a pretty lengthy book. I've added a few chapters, which has taken me a little longer to finish it. But it's really I think it's gonna be the best book I've ever written. So I'm pretty excited about that. All right. So Bill is saying the LABD is 3 times leveraged biotech ETF. Okay, so you're already pretty leveraged on that. So on stocks that have options available, that is another possibility to even increase your leverage even more, right? Not all of them have it, so you got to check. All right, you want to take a look at some of the intraday timeframes. So we run a day trading room, or I run a day trading room, and boy, we had a great week last week in it. And what we take a look is we pretty much focus on the micros. And so here, for example, is the E-mini Dow futures. All right, this is a 5-minute. We still use multiple time frame analysis, but this is the 5-minute, 1-minute, and the 15-second, all in the same time frame. So here's the ES, for example, the micro E-minis. All right, and you can see on the 5-minute time frame, we've got a trend up, multiple pyramids there, but all the indicators are used in the same way. Okay, so let's take a look at the M2K for Alexander here. All right, so that's kind of a little bit of a messy market. So usually what I look for in a market kind of like this, it's a little bit on the messy side. And again, this is the September 23rd, 23 contract. So I usually, from terms of Elliott wave, I'm not really going to find much help here. Okay, it's in a complex type of correction, probably on a larger time frame. So I look to see if there's a PTF trade I can make. Now, PTF trades are scalp trades. So there's a 75% probability of this indicator indicating that we're going to go below this low. So that may be something I want to consider. But I'm going against a bullish pyramid. I'm going against a bullish owl. Yeah, this is a little red and this is a little red. But I don't quite have all the parameters of my rules met for making that a short trade. So I would stay away from this. Okay. Sometimes the best trade is no trade, regardless if it's intraday or end of day. Sometimes the markets get messy intraday for an hour or two. And on these short time frames, you just got to sit back and wait for it to be clearer. And that is usually the best thing to do. Okay. So that's kind of the way I would look at that. All right. Let's see what else. My pleasure, Art. Good picks today. Thank you for bringing those to the table. All right. So Alexander, that was your M2K look we looked at. Let's see. Do you look at the Toronto Stock Exchange? I don't think I have data for that, Bill. So I'm not sure. Okay. What's the symbol? Give me, it looks like FIE. Let me go back to the position trading timeframes. Okay, let's take a quick look at that. Is it FIE? Let's see what we got cooking on that. May or may not bring up the data. I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to, but we'll see. No, oh, it's loading. Let's see if it loads. If it just hangs and doesn't load, then probably I don't have the Toronto. I'm pretty sure I don't have it. Yep, it's blank. Let's look at the real estate. I want to take a look at the real estate ETF. And one of the most popular ones that we usually look at here is the CPT. Okay. Like I said last week, when we look at real estate REITs, the ETFs for those, there's a lot that deal with commercial. Most of them do. And then some have commercial and housing, and then some are more specific for housing. If you Google housing ETFs, you'll find CPT is one of the ones that folks like to look at. And so here's an interesting indication. It's coming down, right? So it looks like we're moving down, but look at this. This has a green PTF. So after this big move down, we should see a recovery in real estate, but the movement down is not yet over. Okay, it's still coming down. So again, what can affect an ETF like this? Seasonality, for one thing. You know, we're coming off the home buying season now. We're going into the fall, and also interest rates. Right, they're going up. All right, so this is kind of low. You know, there is low. There's a low inventory, but the problem is rates are high enough to keep the buyers in as well. So things are kind of stagnant in the real estate market. If not, then you know, sales look like they're going down. So I would probably at this point say this is pretty bearish on the real estate market, at least short term. So it's still coming down at this point. All right, well, I think that is it for today. All right, I think we kind of went through everything. Again, really good session. All right, so let me do a wrap up here. All right, so we got GBTC. So let me bring GBTC up. We kind of like this one for a buy. All right, so give me a second while I bring that up. So GBTC is the ETF for Bitcoin. All right, we had a pullback, which we were expecting. So it hit our target here, and now it's rebounding. If you want to wait for this to go green, you can, but the reason I'm recommending it now is this is green and this is green. So the likelihood of this going green is extremely high. So I think it's okay to recommend this right now. All right, and we're looking at this for a nice long-term move to the upside. All right, the next one I like is USO, and this is one that we have talked about for several weeks here as being a nice buy, and that certainly has been. Now it's really starting to accelerate, but you still got some time to get into this. Again, you'll probably get some pullback, but you know, we just had a little one here, so that's a good sign. So maybe you'll get a smaller pullback and then a move up. But I would go into this now. All right, I'd probably put, even now, you could use this as your stop, but if you want to be really safe and put this one, you could back it down under here. Because again, if you're trying to get up here, you kind of want to get that stop as much room as it can be for any type of volatility or profit taking. So USO is one we like. NVAX is another one. Okay, NVAX. And yes, I agree, Gene. Great picks today. This is one coming off a bottom. So the short-term charts are looking bullish enough to take a trade on this. And the long-term chart, we no longer have an active bearish trade because these pyramids have been stopped out. This is close to going green. So let's take an early entry and go in solidly on these lower time frames. So I'm liking that. And then AF, I'm sorry, AF, I think that's RM, right? The one we like. Oh, for goodness sakes, hold on one second. All right, so give that a second to load. All right, so this is another one I think that's starting to move up. Again, we'll get a pullback. Also, too, when you have a very long owl like this, statistically, it's due to go red. So you'll get some type of pullback here. Put your stop at the pyramid and you don't have to worry about it. It should get right up into the target. Our target is 72 to 112. Now, if you want to wait for the pullback, you can. You could probably get in a little cheaper before going up. So I'll leave that for you to decide how you want to do that. For a long-term trade, you could go in half now. Maybe this is the one where I said you can go in half now or half later, or maybe an option. Okay, then you don't have to worry about that. All right, so then one more here before we call it a day, just to review, is LABD. And this is our, I think, last pick that we liked, that we found we liked. And this was the one reaching up to a target zone of 34 to 48. And the lower time frames confirm a trade to the long side at this time. So those are that. So again, 5 good possibilities. And the nice thing about them is a lot of them are coming off a bottom. So even though the market, you know, will have volatility up and down, as long as you're catching a stock correctly, then the market movement shouldn't really affect it that much in terms of the direction we're going. So it really looks good. So it really is a stock picker's market still, and picking the right stocks is really important. All right. Well, I thank everybody very, very much for coming today. What I'll do is I'll put this back on, I think I'll just put it on the E-mini 1 minute time frame and put a little music on, and you can kind of watch it. It looks like it's coming down a little bit right now. So after this movement down, if this PTF here remains green, then once this turns green and we start seeing movement up, then there's your target. Okay. So we'll have to see. It may turn red, however. Okay. So we have to watch it. 25% of the time it does turn red, meaning it's wrong. Okay. It goes from green to red, or green or red to green. So let's see how that goes. But I'll leave it on here, and we'll see you back here next week. Thanks so much, everybody, and have a great weekend. And as Gene says, give us a like before you go. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a good one. See you next week.